it's going to be much more likely to be able to predict accurately in my mind than weather. But obviously, forecast is a forecast. Prediction is a prediction. You can only go
Well,
so
when
far.
they're talking about a lot of these carriers and ships, and I'm sure they take into consideration weather in regards to delivery dates.
That is going to be one of the inputs. You are right. That is definitely going to be one of the inputs.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WBS Podcast. I'm Sam Gupta, your host and principal consultant at the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm Elevate IQ. Are visibility platforms comparable to TMS systems? What sets apart multiple enterprise visibility platforms from real-time visibility platforms? Is there a distinction between a TMS crafted from the standpoint of a logistics service provider and one tailored for a trucking company? How do international multimodal TMS systems differ from domestic TMS solutions designed specifically for trucking companies? In terms of capabilities in TMS and visibility platforms, where does Blume Global stand? How does it measure up against other supply chain suites currently available in the market? In today's episode, we invited a panel of industry experts for a live discussion on LinkedIn to conduct an independent review of Blume Global capabilities. We covered many grounds, including their recent acquisition with WiseTech and why large private equities such as EQT had such a high valuation for them. We also discussed their strength with rail and how they compare with other suites such as E2 Open and Project 44 in the market. With that, let's get to the conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you're joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We review one vendor or the solution. And for today, we have a very interesting vendor called Blume Global. So we are going to have a lot of fun discussing that. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intros. I am going to start with my quick intro. Sam Gupta, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. On that note, I am going to move to Andy for his intro.
Well, thank you so much, Sam. It looks like it's going to be a blooming good show this time.
Blooming good show. This is going to be blooming globally good show.
Yeah, my name's Andy Pratico. I've been involved in ERP software for manufacturers all my life. I lived in the U.S. for 11 years. I'm in Vancouver, Canada. I've worked all over North America. And I have a book, and I teach people how to evaluate and how to uncover the truth about ERP before they buy.
And
so thank you so much, Sam.
Of course, and hopefully you are blooming in Vancouver.
It's not. It's overcast and raining.
It's overcast and raining. Okay, I get it, man. It's gonna be over very soon. It's probably going to be really cold.
Yeah, I think you're going to get more of a white Christmas than I will, though.
Hopefully, it doesn't happen anymore, I guess. I mean, we get some snow in October, November, and after that, there's going to be a little summer there, and then winter again.
Is that right? You don't
for
get
last 2 years, I guess.
Winter?
For last 2 years, it has been very different weather, Andy.
Very temperate.
What's that?
Very temperate.
Different. Yeah, different. I mean, it's not usual. So we will get the winter early, October, November. Right now we are getting some snow, but then for some reason it doesn't snow in December for some time, and then it might snow probably mid-Jan or something like that. So it's very, very, very different. It's not Toronto where you have complete white December, Jan, and Feb. So we'll find out, I guess, how this year is going to be. But on that note, I guess we can start on the session.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with the quick briefing, Andy, if you don't mind. And after that, I don't know if you're going to have any sort of experiences with these guys. And then obviously we'll go over the slides as well. So just to sort of position them in the right bucket, and we review many different enterprise software categories. So these guys are going to be part of that TMS bucket. Okay. In my mind, even inside TMS, you have many different buckets. Okay. There are like million TMS solutions. And sometimes I'm shocked that you have more TMS solutions than
I know.
ERP. It's just crazy the way it works, okay? But TMS space is very broad, very different, and sometimes you require a lot more solutions just because you have a lot more supply chain consulting companies operating here. They have very different business models, and that's probably the reason and driver why they have so many different TMS solutions out there. Now, when we look at Blume Global, in my mind, is not necessarily a TMS solution, and that's what I was thinking. I mean, I put them into that real time visibility as well as the network category. The companies such as your E2 Open, Project 44, those are some of the competitors. In fact, Andy, if you look at the reviews that we have for these guys, most of the companies, when they explored these guys or compared these guys, they compared E2 Open as well as Project 44. So that's the right bucket for them. In my mind, yes, they have the execution component. And in fact, I'm shocked based on the capabilities that these guys have overall from the TMS perspective. So it's a fairly strong TMS, but they are also very strong visibility platform. So touching base on different buckets that we have reviewed from the TMS perspective, and Andy, I don't know whether you remember this or not. I mean, we have been talking about the planning, the execution, as well as network. Those
Yep.
three buckets, right? We have spoken a lot about them, especially when we look at supply chain suite. So in that as well, when we look at the network component, in network component, you have two different layers inside that, just inside network itself. Okay. So you have the whole manufacturing supply chain, and manufacturing supply chain is going to be, okay, you have OEMs have their own vendors, and these vendors are not necessarily carriers. So the value chain for carriers is going to be very different, and that's where TMS sort of fits in. So in my mind, Blume Global was there. It is that carrier network. It's not the complete network the way you are going to have with E2 Open, which is going to be your manufacturing distribution network as well as your carrier network. When you look at systems such as Infor Nexus, Infor Nexus is more of the manufacturer distribution network. It's not necessarily the carrier network, and that's why they partner with. I don't know how many different solutions they partner with, but most
It's
likely
more of an iPass, though, isn't it, Sam?
no, no,
Oh,
Info
it's not. Pardon
not
me.
no, that's Infor OS. I think you're mixing up those two.
Oh, okay. Pardon me.
Yeah, Infor Nexus is very different. It's supply chain visibility solution to the network, a lot of different providers collaborating together, facilitating the supply chain insights as well as the algorithm. So that's where their play is. Yeah, so this is going to be more of the transportation supply chain, the carrier network, and because of that, obviously you are going to have a lot of insights. But in this particular case, again, once you look at the screenshot, then you will know that how deep they are, even in the execution component of TMS. So they are really, really strong there as well. What else do we discuss as part of the briefing? So competitors, I think we have already touched that their competitors are probably going to be Project 44, Four Kites, E2 Open are probably there.
I was going to say E2 Open is probably their main competitor.
Yeah. I mean, E2 Open is a very big solution in my mind, Andy.
Yep.
Okay, it has
Yep.
a lot. So I don't think everybody has that much, to be completely honest. Even if they might be claiming, E2 Open in my mind is bigger than Blue Yonder.
Oh, really?
In my mind, yes, and that's
Huh.
how it's a complete supply chain suite. Yeah. So these guys would be more comparable to Project 44, which is just a subset, the component of the whole, what do you call that? The framework or suite or whatever you want to call. These guys are component in my mind.
Okay.
Yeah. Overall, we cover the other things as well, external versus internal supply chain. So obviously, these guys are going to be the complete supply chain. They are going to have, for the most part, all of the modes, intermodal supply chain, international supply chain, including all modes. So obviously, they are definitely there. And sometimes, I mean, we have seen scenarios where some companies are doing more of the international supply chain because that could be very different than your domestic supply chain. And then some companies we have seen in this space, they are doing primarily risk centric, processes a lot. And risk itself is a big deal overall in the supply chain space. So there's a lot there in the supply chain space in general. And depending upon what your capabilities are going to be, companies are going to be exploring accordingly, depending upon what their needs are going to be. So, Andy, I'm gonna pause there. Do you have any comments? Any?
No,
Okay.
I'm looking forward to learning like I do every Tuesday from you, Sam.
Yeah, this is going to be fun learning for me as well. Thank you so much once again, Andy. We all are learning together, Andy.
We all learn together, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that's what I like about these shows, to be completely honest. There's just so much to learn. So this one is coming from 2021. And again, we take very similar approach whenever we review these solutions. So we go with their market positioning. We are going after any of the press releases that they have done in the past. So we look at the trend in terms of how they have positioned themselves over the period of time. We are looking at their marketing positioning. We are looking at their demos and trying to gather intel in terms of where they sort of fit in, what is their target market. So this is coming from their press releases. So here, this is about the funding, and the funding is coming from EQT. And EQT is a big deal. So very large private equity. I mean, all of those are very much after these companies. Number one, primarily because of network. Number two, because of data, and supply chain in general has been really hot in last 3 to 4 years. So EQT, Thama Bravo, these are like one of the biggest private equity companies. So this is founded in 2018. Can you believe this? It has hardly been like 4 or 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, and the company valuation already is $500 million. Yeah.
Really?
It's wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah, these platforms are powerful, Andy. Yeah, they are really powerful.
Well, I see
Um,
you've got them recognized on the Magic Quadrant. Do you know which of the four sections of it they're located in?
Uh,
Top
so
right
we,
or where?
I don't have that recollection right now,
Oh,
so
you
I would
don't.
not be able
Okay.
to comment. But they are definitely, if I remember, and I'm gonna guess here, they are definitely they in top right, I guess. That's my recollection, if I remember. Especially, and again, you need to be careful when you are looking at Gartner, right? Because
Yeah,
Gartner has very specific categories, and they rank in the real-time visibility platforms.
exactly.
They I don't know if they rank in TMS. I don't know how many installations they have for TMS, but they definitely do rank in real-time visibility. And you only have so many different solutions out there in the market for real-time visibility, and that could be the reason why they are ranking. But they rank very high, Andy, for sure.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, anybody who is going to be with EQT, I can almost guarantee that they are probably going to rank very high.
Well, while we're yakking, I'll just have a look at what quadrant at where Gartner has them.
Are you looking at real-time visibility, Andy? Which one are you looking at?
Oh, I'm just going to just have a look. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll let you know if I learn anything.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so here, this is obviously very European private equity company. So here they are talking about Bridgepoint Group to build out its research and development and expand its marketing footprint globally. Yeah, and they have some more investors. So the existing investors were Apollo, Global, as well as EQT. Yeah, so those are all big names, which is mind blowing that they are invested by obviously these big, large private equity companies. Now, this is probably a very big largest logistics service provider, and they have partnered with this guy. And even if you are going to get one logo, and all of these logistics service partners are going to have very unique processes, that's why sometimes they go after the companies that may be able to customize the way they operate. So that's why sometimes, I mean, these companies are going to get very big logo, but that is a huge validation that they are able to run such large names. And these guys, they are going to have massive fleet, massive network. So managing that kind of workload is a big deal for any solution. So this is also coming from 2021, and they are saying today announced an expansion of its partnership with Queen and Nagel, one of the largest logistics service providers in the world. Bloom will provide them with a cognitive intermodal TMS, among other solutions, in its entire North American business. So we can see that they are very heavily penetrated in North American market, and that's why they are utilizing them here. Is also providing real-time visibility with ELD integration to their intermodal carriers. Chassis billing, I think this is the first time we are hearing this term, which itself is a big deal. If you are going to have massive number of fleets, you probably would need chassis billing, and that gets very complicated. And I think we have debated this, Andy, before as well. For these 3PL businesses, for these logistics service providers businesses, TMS is probably going to be their ERP, because their billing, invoicing, consolidation, matching, freight, what is that called, audit, these processes get very deep, and they are very ERP like functionality. They don't necessarily have an ERP does not play much of a role. The only thing ERP is going to do is consume GL entries and do financial reporting. That's, you can probably do that inside FP&A. You probably
Right.
don't even need an ERP, I guess.
You don't need an ERP, no.
Yeah, exactly. But so again, I mean, it's a very, 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 very different space, because the majority of their business is probably going to run inside those massive TMS systems, and that's why TMS space is extremely unique. Here they are talking about multi-modal visibility solutions, including predicting ETA. And this is not the first time we are seeing this. Predicting ETA has been very, very common across. Whether you look at your E2 Open, they all are trying to argue how good they are at predicting ETA. Project 44, they have very, very, very similar, pitch. Exception alerts, very, very common across all of these TMS systems. Yeah, and here they are arguing about increased benefits for its drayage business from the partnership between these guys as well as Blume Global. Then they are looking at superior integration to terminals. And when you look at terminal integration, that's a big deal. Terminal itself is going to emit a lot of different data. It's almost like you are probably integrating massive, massive manufacturing facilities, because you are not only going to have integration with your fleets, you are probably going to have integration with any other machines that you might be utilizing on those terminals. So very different business processes, very different operations, including ocean, rail, domestic, and OTR carriers, best-in-class shipment visibility, in addition to their superior Sea Explorer solution. Sea Explorer is the name of the solution, and that is going to be very unique in this particular space, especially when you look at the ocean market. You are probably going to have many different best-of-breed solutions that you are going to be integrating with, and they are going to have very deep operational data there. Now, they are talking about efficient dispatch and improved equipment management. Bloom Logistics also helped them. There's not much there. That's pretty much it. Now, the next one, this is coming from 2022. So this is one of the acquisition. Blume Global has acquired the procurement and supplier collaboration software maker Live Source in a bid to coordinate and pre and post production activities for manufacturers and the logistics providers that they use. This gives Bloom integrated access to 60,000 suppliers in Live Sources network. Now, in my mind, this is going to be slightly more supplier network as opposed to carrier network. That would be my understanding, but this could be carrier network as well. So here, I guess this is where they have a lot more capabilities, very similar to E2 Open, but their size of the network is not going to be as big as E2 Open. That's my understanding, because E2 Open had much, much, much bigger network. But if you look at even Bloom Global slides, okay, they are claiming that they have pretty much everything, I guess. So I don't know. I mean, maybe do a little bit of digging into that. And sometimes, I mean, you might not be able to compare apple to apple, because these numbers look very big. In general, I think E2 Open has much larger network in general, but these guys could be close as well. So here they are talking about the software integration with the manufacturer's ERP, PLM system. I don't think we have seen anybody claiming that they have integrated with PLM. So far, what we have seen is ERP and TMS. That's what we have seen across the board, when we reviewed. Now, these guys are integrating with PLM as well, which is wonderful. Live Source, a multi-enterprise supply chain business network for complex manufacturers. And that's why I feel this is not your carrier network. So maybe Bloom Global also has very similar capabilities as E2 Open. They not only have carriers, but they have more than that, and that's what your E2 Open had. It was more than just the carrier network. So that's this acquisition. Now, Blume Global's free of charge freight scheduler is cloud native digital platform. By the way, before we dig into this one, I want to make one more point here, because most of the, if you look at any of the supply chain solutions, Andy, they are probably sitting in Thama Bravo's portfolio at this point of time. I mean, all the big names. So
All the big names.
all the big names are sitting right there. Okay, even some of the big ERP systems.
ERPs. I think QAD's with them now.
QAD is with them. They had Deltek, but I don't think Deltek is there anymore. So they have QAD. QAD is the recent acquisition. They have Coupa. They have Anaplan.
Yep.
It's massive portfolio. Okay.
Yep.
So and by the way, I mean EQT and Thama Bravo are very comparable. Thama Bravo is far more focused on your enterprise software than EQT. EQT also does that, but I mean they are present in e-commerce, payment. They have Klarna. So they have a lot. I mean, they are not as focused on enterprise software as Thama Bravo, but there is also a competition between these private equities. So if they feel that this whole supply chain is going to become really big category, so nobody really wants to miss the bus. So maybe even if this is going to be a second tier PMS solution, they all want piece of the pie, right? So that's why you are going to have 2 or 3 companies created out of this competition. So that's a huge validation for you that these guys are not going anywhere if these massive private equity companies are supporting them. So here, intermodal users to better coordinate cross-country rail freight deliveries, schedules that allow shippers and IMCs, intermodal marketing companies. Intermodal marketing companies, I don't think we have seen this term used before, but intermodal marketing companies is also a very important, player in the value chain when you look at the whole supply chain. So obviously you have the facilitator who are moving the goods from one point to the next. So you have all of those, but then you have custom brokerage, you have marketing companies. So all of them have very unique processes and they play very important roles. Sometimes they are going to have data feed that you are going to require to trace end-to-end supply chain. So it becomes very interesting when you get into the whole value chain of supply chains. And they are talking about to synchronize shipments across different railroads. Here we are talking about just the rail itself. The company's first railroad users are Union Pacific, which is massive, humongous. Okay, Norfolk, Southern, and CSX. All 3 are massive companies. With the initial participation of Union Pacific, NS, and CSX, Blume has managed the EMP and UMAX container pools used by IMCs. Can you believe? We look to add more railroad schedules that will fuel Blume Maps. And Blume Maps, again, this is going to be for the whole international supply chain. And that's a big deal, guys. Digital twin of the supply chain world. Can you believe? This is massive. Customers use Blume Maps to first plot routes using variable lead times, cost implications, and intelligent historical data. They monitor shipments with end-to-end visibility and continuously updated ETAs to ensure orders are traveling on time, receiving notifications when orders may be late or early. When shipments are late, customers use Blume Maps to view recommended alternate modes, carriers, service levels, and routes to bring shipments back on track. That's a whole control tower functionality in general. A key component.
What size of company would be using these types of products, Sam?
For the most part, enterprise.
Okay, like Fortune 1000 or?
Depending upon what your business model is, Andy. So if you are going to be, let's say, if you are one of those IMCs or LXPs, logistic service providers, even if you are going to be small, you would probably require end-to-end trace. So when you are a manufacturer, you are very lucky, to be completely honest, because you have a lot of ERP systems that you can utilize. I have spoken this before as well, that even a smaller transportation business is very hard operationally. Okay, if you have, let's say, 5 trucks, 10 trucks, you are okay. You can run on a piece of paper and you are still going to be okay. And that's why the transportation market is very fragmented. Even supply chain market is very fragmented as well, to be completely okay. But once you are at a scale, okay, scaling transportation business is much harder than most businesses, just because of those technical component and the number of variables that you have in that business. It becomes very hard. Even if you're going to have like a $1 billion business, to be completely honest, it becomes very hard compared to manufacturing, distribution, retail business in my experience. So even those smaller companies, and even if you're going to be upper mid market, might need something like this. Yeah, and
It
when you look,
seems pretty all encompassing.
yes, yes. But one point to note here is the visibility platforms in general are not as intrusive. They are not as disruptive as your execution platform. Even the execution platforms are probably going to disrupt the processes of just one department. Okay, so it's not the ERP disruption, to be completely honest. When you are installing TMS, it might be slightly more disruptive for logistics and transportation companies, but again, you can utilize these solutions even if they are going to be more expensive. They will not be as disruptive to your operations. That's why they are going to have far higher adoption, much easier adoption, overall, I guess, in the companies. And that's why companies are able to utilize them easily, as compared to other solutions in the market. I don't know if I'm making sense, Andy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So here, a key component of the freight scheduling platform involves, Blume's Gen 4 acquisition of LifeSource. So they are described as a leading multi-enterprise supply chain business network. They have used term multi-enterprise, supply chain business network, and this is the term even Gartner uses. I think they use two. So they have two different quadrants, one for real-time visibility and one for multi-enterprise supply chain business network. So in multi-enterprise business supply chain business network, I think they are going to rank companies like OpenText. They are going to rank companies like Pagero, I believe, or what is that? True Commerce even, because some of these EDI networks nowadays are acting as multi-enterprise supply chain business network, just because they always had the whole trading partner ecosystem. They might not have as many carriers. So traditionally, and I don't know whether you recall this or not, in the ERP ecosystem, you had two different players. One was EDI vendors, and the second was the shipping add-ons. Both of them had networks, right?
Yep.
So the EDI vendors had network of the suppliers. The shipping add-ons, they also had network, but a different network. They used EDI internally, but that was the network of carriers. So now these two are coming together, because that's where the real intel is. But at that time in the ERP world, we were literally looking at four walls of a facility, but here we are talking about the entire supply chain end to end. So that's the real difference. So here they are talking about provides sourcing and procurement orchestration technology, among other solutions, to the automotive and industrial manufacturing sectors. Automotive is where the real play is in general of these networks, and the reason why they matter a lot more for automotive is because the entire industry operates on the same data. So if anybody does not have quality data, then everybody is going to suffer. Typically OEMs publish this data, but even OEMs data is not going to be as reliable. Most companies rely on industry data to be able to forecast how much inventory they are going to be producing. But traditionally, there has been massive gap with these industry data sets. So that's the gap that these networks are able to fulfill, just because now they are consolidated, and that's where you have humongous need of these platforms, especially in the automotive sector. Do I have anything else that I need to cover here? No. Okay, so the next one. Now, obviously, when we look at these data points, they are going to appear massive. But again, I get confused when I look at these data points, to be completely honest, and I don't know how comparable they are. But overall, again, in my mind, I think E2 Open is going to have far richer data set. But do your due diligence before you confirm that, because the data is going to drive the quality of insights. That's going to drive how confident you are going to be on algorithm. It's all the power of network. So Blume Global launched Blume Carrier Go, the only cloud-based intelligent operating platform for Indian trucking companies. And these guys have a lot more business that they are doing in India, which is very interesting. Okay, so this is a specific city in India that they have launched, and obviously India is big in supply chain in general. So here they are talking about Blume Carrier Go is an easy, scalable, and affordable solution for trucking companies to digitally manage, container movement to and from across all modes of transport. Indian supply chain is a complex ecosystem, which is right, and highly dependent on both small and large players to ensure that goods are delivered and consumers' demands are met. Obviously, you are talking about more than a billion people. They need a lot of firepower from the supply chain perspective. So here, one of the melting parts of the trucking industry, this particular city, it's Varanasi, for the trucking industry, and sincerely hope to make Carrier go for the most sought after product in India. Uh, and here they are talking about 170 plus countries. Can you believe this? 12.4 million plus containers tracked. But this does not mean a lot. I think when you look at the power of the network, you should be looking at number of carriers and number of fleets. That's what we had seen with Project 44. Containers tracked, that's a great measure, but yeah, I would be looking at either fleets or the network, and that would be apple to apple comparison. They are talking about 70 plus TMS integrations. Interesting. Now, is that just 70 installs or 70 different types of TMS integration? Again, that's probably not a great measure to compare the strength of the network, even though, I mean, 70 is a lot.
Are they saying they're integrating to 70 other TMS systems?
That's where, obviously, this is marketing pitch, right, Andy?
Yeah, marketing.
Right.
We all know about marketing.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say if they are connecting with something like CH Robinson, okay, that's a big deal. Because CH Robinson, if you have 70 CH Robinsons out here, then that's a big deal. Versus, let's say, if you're connecting with a TMS of a transportation company that is like $2 million, that's not a big deal now because they are not going to have as much data, right? So depending upon now, that's not spelled out in terms of what my understanding of this is going to be. The way this is presented as they are connecting with 70 different TMS systems out there. That would be my understanding from this. 350K plus chassis tracked. Now, again, I don't think that's a lot. That's not a lot. 236K plus, motor carriers. I think if I remember from Project 44, they had much bigger, overall from the carrier perspective. This is just over
all these numbers seem a little bit on the low side considering how big a product this is.
Exactly. 750 plus air cargo carriers. Again, carrier seems low in my mind. 7 North America class 1 railroads, and I don't know if I have a comment on that. 1100 plus marine terminals and ramps. That's a huge integration. I don't think anybody has spoken about the terminal integration as well as ramps. That could be a big deal. So they have very unique integration there. 48 ocean carriers. I don't know how many different. And again, I think you need to look into these data points. When they say carrier, what do they mean by carrier?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's so generic. You're not really sure what it is they're describing.
Yeah, but I mean, based on the numbers, I really don't feel that they are going to be as big as the other ones that we have reviewed, Project 44, 4 Kites, as well as E2 Open. I think they are going to be slightly bigger. Okay, that would be my understanding. But I mean, obviously, when you look at these numbers, they look big. But you really need to read between the lines there. Okay, so here, this is 2023, Feb 16. So this is the Tech global developer of the leading logistics execution software Cargo Wise today announced its acquisition of Blume Global. So now Blume Global has been acquired by Tech, and Tech was, they had a TMS system called Cargo Wise. So I don't know, when you look at these demos, are you looking at Cargo Wise or are you looking at, the product from Blume Global? Maybe it is really from Tech. That's the product that you are looking at. So maybe they combined the visibility as well as TMS, and that's why they have acquired this. That would be my understanding. But if you look at on their YouTube channel right now, they have had these demos in the last 4 or 5 years. So I don't know if they had another TMS system, whatever may be the case. But obviously, this consolidation makes sense because you need both of these. You need the visibility platform. You also need the TMS. And we have seen a lot of these integrations in the market, and that's exactly what even E2 Open is. So here, provider of a leading solution facilitating intermodal rail in North America. So they are sort of qualifying it as facilitating only intermodal rail. That was not my understanding, at least. I was thinking they are intermodal based on their marketing material, but here they seems to be claiming that this is only for rail, which is also a very interesting comment. Here, and we have one comment, so let's cover that first. before we move further. So here we have comment from Anders Green. Follow him. Amazing guy. It's ANDERSGREEN. Hypothetical tangent. I wonder how much accurate arrival prediction suffers from the same problems as weather prediction, the butterfly effect. It would be fascinating if the software gave you an arrival date and a confidence level. So, Anders, I'm going to have a comment here, and I don't know. Honestly speaking, I'm not qualified to speak on the weather forecasting algorithm, to be completely honest. And I don't know, where they gather data from. Obviously they are going after the historical patterns in terms of what happened, and that's how they are predicting. So in my mind, that may not be as accurate. Here, you have a lot more data in general, and that's why it's going to be much more likely to be able to predict accurately in my mind than weather. But obviously, forecast is a forecast. Prediction is a prediction. You can only go so
Well,
far.
they're talking about a lot of these carriers and ships, and I'm sure they take into consideration weather in regards to delivery dates.
That is going to be one of the inputs. You're right. That is definitely going to be one of the inputs. Yes. Yeah. So okay. So here they are saying this is coming again from 2023, right? So Blume is being acquired from funds managed by Apollo, EQT, and other minority stakeholders. So now it is managed by Tech. So EQT probably is not involved there because it has this is an acquisition. So Bloom manages, and by the way, Tech is a big company, guys. They have done a lot. Bloom manages intermodal containers and chassis based on behalf of 6 of the 7 Class 1 US railroads. So they were really strong in rail, it seems. Ocean carriers and other intermodal equipment providers, including global freight forwarders and beneficial cargo owners. So BCO is another term I guess we are coming across now. That I don't think anybody has used before, at least in our review material. So which is very interesting.
New
Now,
acronyms every day, Sam.
new acronyms every day. Supply chain is hot, Andy, always. They have so much going on there always. Bloom is a high growth, recurring revenue business, and is expected to generate revenues in the range of $65 million, which is not a lot, to $70 million, but for a software company, that's a lot, representing annual growth of 45% to 55%. Here they are talking about one more acquisition. I guess this is the Envas, Technologies last month. Our 6 key cargo-wise development priority areas, integrating rail into our land side logistics offering in North America. So I think they acquired this for rail. That's my understanding. They must be really strong in the trucking side of things. So now they have rail as well. And again, everybody's trying to complete the whole equation. Everybody's claiming that they are all intermodal, but they all were really weak, I guess, in one of these modes, and that's why they are trying to consolidate. And do you have a comment, joke?
No, I'm
You're
just
smiling.
just that's all right. Sorry.
Okay, so let's keep going here. So the most complex and largest logistics region in the world, Bloom also brings significant new talent, a portfolio of other. Okay, so they are talking about acquisition. Uh, okay, let's keep going here. Okay, so now let's look at the screen, which might not be as clear, I guess, based on the screenshot. But here, this is the screenshot of their Carrier Go app that they have used in India. And typically, the role of this is going to be to give in the hands of drivers. And once they have that, then you are going to get a lot more data to be able to predict these, routes, to be able to do the planning, and that whole, what is that? The fleet management itself is a big deal, especially when you are looking at this scale. So that's the role of Carrier Go. But here, if you look at, I mean, obviously this is a very intermodal view, the way it is managed. This is going to be, so number one, rail. Obviously they have a lot here, and but then I don't know how deep they are in intermodal. That would be my take on this. So obviously do a little bit of research in terms of how deep they are in each of those modes, even if they are claiming that they are probably going to be equally good everywhere. But I mean, this is probably number one. They have a lot of motor carrier here, and then you also have a little bit of rail. Now, when you look at and I don't think, I mean, the TMS systems that we have reviewed so far, and nobody has been really deep overall from the inspection quality perspective, and
Or
the
maintenance.
maintenance is a big deal in this particular space. So here, the workflow is going to be very different. Even if I recall, Trimble was very deep into trucking space, and I would expect them to have very thick workflow for these things, but even they did not. At least it did not come across that they had very deep capability, from their screens. So here, we are talking about the real fleet management, and fleet management is always a weak area for most TMS systems, at least personally from my experience. Okay, so these guys are really deep into fleet. So that's where I guess, I don't know whether this product is coming from Blume or Weistech, whoever is producing this particular product. They were really deep into trucking. So here we are talking about your fleet name. We have things such as fleet win number. Can you believe this? Your TMS system has fleet win number. I don't think anybody has they never had this before. Typically most TMS systems, they are going to have sort of the order workflow. When we reviewed 3G TMS, even 3G TMS, I don't think they had this. So here we are talking about fleet category, fleet size type. Size type itself is a big deal, and you have all different size categorization, whether it is going to be 20 feet flatbed or whatever. You are doing the whole maintenance here. You have things such as your license number, fleet owner. The owner itself is a big business process there. Whether this is going to be owner operator, it is going to be owned, or who's responsible for your insurance, etc. So you have very, very, very thick workflow just in that area of the process. Temperature control is a big deal in general. That drives a lot of different processes. Any sort of hazmat, chemical sort of constraints that you're going to have with this, they impact your scheduling, etc. So that's a big deal as well. Here we are talking about tracking device, big deal. Fleet manufacturing date, can you believe this? Obviously, you need to track that, for the insurance inspection. So again, these guys are very, very, very deep into that.
What does fleet manufacturing mean?
You mean fleet manufacture date?
Yeah.
So that's going to be the date when fleet was manufactured, meaning the truck was manufactured. So they are tracking that because that drives your insurance cost, I guess. As well as the inspection. Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very deep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is all fleet service details. That's why they have fleet service details. You have fleet date service details. You have odometer, reading seat capacity, cylinder count. It just, again, this is not ERP, guys. It's very, very, very deep into inspection. So here, now, this is the work order. Even their work orders are going to be very different. Even across the TMS categories, their work orders are going to be very different depending upon what it is designed for. So here we have category, work order number. You have obviously bill of lading is always the starting point for most TMS systems. Then you have MAWB number. You have things such as your on-hand number, originator reference. Then you have motor carrier office, which is going to be that is common. Then you
What
have
does MAWB mean? Do you know?
no.
Oh,
I don't know what that is. Yeah, I don't think we have come across that before.
It looks impressive, though.
Yeah, it looks impressive, and we have to find that. Maybe you want to do a little research there, Andy.
I will.
Rail billing number, HAWB number. So you have a sibling there. MAWB as well as HAWB. Both of them. Obviously, they are very deep into this industry. So now let's look at and this is the demo of their Carrier Go. And this is, as they had pointed out, that this is being used in India. And sometimes India could have very different processes. So I don't know if India uses some of these numbers. There is a possibility that some of these numbers might belong to very Indian specific operation. Yeah, but I mean, this is very common. This is very similar to your Trimble experience. Assigning jobs to drivers. I don't think we have seen the real scheduling workflow. We have seen dispatch workflow. Dispatch is very different than assigning jobs to your drivers. So this is also very, 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 very different.
Pardon me, but what does assigning jobs to a driver mean? What's a job in this perspective?
So this is going to be, so here you are not only doing your loading, unloading processes from the dispatch perspective, meaning you are assigning your loads to a truck, but then you also need to assign jobs to a driver. So that's going to be a very different sequencing, scheduling workflow, because you need to manage the schedule of drivers as well. So,
So the job is a shipment.
So job is going to be, it's going to be the delivery pickup. If you notice here, different labels that they are using. So delivery, pickup, return, all of these are going to be jobs that your drivers are performing, and they are trying to assign it to them. Yeah, but it's more than tasks, Andy. It's definitely not like task is a very, like, it just has a date, and it does not have as much implication. But here we are talking about real scheduling, the way you are going to do scheduling for your manufacturing plant. You are going to have constraints such as your allocation, priority, all of that. When you look at the complex operations, so obviously these things get very deep, and that's why they are using the term job here. It's a real job, it's not a task.
Right, I see that.
Yeah. Now this is the invoicing, and now in this space the invoicing is going to be very different as well. It gets very, 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 very deep, and I don't think ERP systems will be able to handle this kind of invoicing workflow. We have seen some companies try to shoehorn this inside ERP. It doesn't work, because the kind of relationship that you are going to have in this space are going to be very different. The kind of invoicing relationships that you are going to have are going to be very different as well. So the only role ERP is going to play in these spaces is, it can be your GL custodian. That's it. No more than that. And again, you probably don't require an ERP system in these spaces. Your FP&A probably can do the same job as well. But again, if you're doing a little bit of procurement, etc., then maybe it can play a little role. But for the most part, the scope is very, very limited. Now, here, this is a very different app. So this is, the intermodal TMS demo. This is also coming from their YouTube channel, which obviously has very different UI, very new cloud native UI compared to what we had seen previously. So this is the real intermodal. So I don't know whether this is coming from Wisetack or it is still part of Blume, but this is a very interesting view. Here you are going to have far deeper capabilities from the intermodal perspective. That's what they are trying to show here. This is obviously lane management itself is going to be a very involved functionality inside TMS. Yeah. Okay. So I think we have seen this functionality in a lot of different systems. So here they are talking about contract management. Contract management is a very, very, very deep process. A lot of TMS systems have this, especially the mid-market ones. We saw this, if I remember correctly. Andy, you need to help me here. The rate management, what is that name?
Which one?
The rate management. I mean, we saw this functionality in a lot of different systems. I'm simply looking for some names.
Oh, you mean products? You mean like
products and the TMS bucket.
And those kind of guys, you mean?
What's it?
PaceJet, you mean?
PaceJet is not going to have. It's not going to have contract management.
No, but it's for rate shopping.
A little bit of rate shopping, but not necessarily contract management. I mean, you might have
no.
UPS contract management, but that's it. Like contract management, this contract management is very, very, very. So here we are talking about, carrier, rate basic, strip type. Yeah, but I mean, again, I don't think PaceJet is not the right comparison here.
No. I was just meant for rate shopping only.
Yeah. So here now they are creating a booking here as well. Now this is going to be very intermodal booking, where you are doing a little bit of ocean and then air, and they have all of those capabilities, from your origin to destination to date, to port of landing to port of discharge, service providers, cargo type, all of that is here. Consignee, consignor. Again, these are very, very, very detailed functionality. From the container perspective, they have all of the different container types supported. So obviously, this is a very strong TMS system. There's no question, including some of the regulated functionality, which is probably going to be on a linear side. The other TMS systems that we have reviewed that were slightly more strong, I would say, in the chemical space, food and beverage, they are going to have far deeper capabilities for hazmat, for refrigerator. In fact, I mean, when we reviewed Uber Freight, right? Even Uber Freight was very strong. C.H. Robinson was very strong in the food space. My recollection is right. Yeah. And here, again, this is looking at the complete intermodal process. So ocean, air, and you have complete visibility. That's where the real power is overall in terms of this solution, where you are able to track your end-to-end supply chain.
This is almost a simple dashboard.
This is
without graphics.
Well, so it's not just the dashboard. I would say definitely slightly more execution-centric platform, because you can take actions here. It's not just watching the movie, I guess. It's more than that. Yeah, but I mean, obviously, in this tool, this is a report. It's clear, but it can do a lot more. It's a real TMS.
Yeah.
Okay, so some reviews here. So this is coming from 2023. This is the review of Blume Visibility. So they had number one, it's in manufacturing. Function is procurement. So procurement is using it 3 billion to roughly what, $10 billion, which is a massive company. Okay, they had compared this with CH Robinson, four kites, E2 Open, and Project 44, which in my mind would be the right buckets. That's
Right.
what I would be comparing. Based on the TMS capabilities, maybe even CH Robinson is probably a great comparison, but CH Robinson is probably not going to have as much network, as much data. Their network is going to be limited to their own, carriers, their own network. So here they are talking about its strength is in its connection with many various data sources and data points by comparison to others. The UI environment is a bit raw, but usable. It is less flexible with data ingestion than some of its top competitors, and exporting the output data in a usable fashion and integrating with ERP is more challenging than with other competitors. Again, their ecosystem is not going to be as strong. So if you go to your E2 Open, E2 Open is very well penetrated in a lot of different TMS ERP systems. So I kind of agree with this user's review that they might not be as penetrated in different ecosystems. So you are not going to find as many integrations, as many options if you go for this. The detailed predictive data is something that they like. Pricing is higher than other competitors. Integration should be easier. Data outputs in multiple different formats instead of relying on individual to see use Blume's UI would be ideal. So again, this is a very enterprise solution, and that's why you are feeling that this is expensive. But if $3 billion company is feeling this is expensive, meaning it is real.
Yeah. Well, it says right there between 3 and 10 billion.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the second thing is, sorry, second review. So this is coming from transportation, 3 billion to 10 billion. Again, very enterprise space. SVP Global Sea Logistics. Comparison here is four kites, Shipio, Project 44. And that is the right comparison. Shipio is they have European centric data in terms of visibility, but they are definitely comparable if you're looking for Europe centric supply chain. These guys are going to have a lot more in the US and North America. The integration of the US rail services delivers significant value. So even the users have said that they were really strong in rail. All transportation modes in one tool makes the difference. The management is highly professional, and all team members are committed to deliver. Okay, the provided visibility is one of a kind in the US market. Yes, I don't have anything else here on this one. So that's it, Andy. I'll take some comments if you have anything.
Well, some of these systems that we look at, this one is particularly robust. And speaking of which, the size of company, 3 billion or larger, like holy smokes. I can only imagine what it takes to implement something like that.
Yeah, and I don't know, Andy. I mean, I think the implementation is going to be slightly easier, to be completely honest.
You think?
Yeah, because again, it's just one process.
I know, but look at how many arms and fingers it's going out there to touch and integrate to, though.
Just to be clear, so that is all integrated with the platform itself. So when you talk about these ports and terminal from the rail perspective, that is all part of the platform. That's the beauty that you are getting. Yeah, that's all part of the platform. So you don't have to integrate with all of that. I mean, it's already collecting all of this
data.
There. Yeah, it's already there. Oh. So the only thing you are doing is you are really managing your own, just the logistics process, and you have all of that global data as part of the system.
Yeah, it's amazing. I can only imagine what it costs.
And that's why it costs, because look at those integrations. Just the maintenance of that, man.
You're already there. It's got it. Yeah. If you're already there, that's huge.
Yeah, people don't appreciate, how much effort and money that is required to enable this.
Before we got on the call today, I was just talking to a client in Manitoba. I emailed them over to you. It was funny because he said he's been looking at some ERPs, and he goes, I don't think there's anything out there that'll work off the shelf. I'm going to have to hire 3 programmers. And I went, are you crazy?
What?
You're not looking in the right places. But anyway, you'll see it in your inbox, Sam.
Yeah, Andy, so I think that's going to be mindset coaching, the therapy. The problem is always, people-related problems are always the hardest to solve. Technology can do wonders.
That's right. People are the problems.
Exactly, exactly. Andy, any more comments?
Not at all. Thank you, Sam. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. Amazing. Thank you so much, Andy, once again for your time and insights. So that's it for today, guys. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We are going to come back with another solution or the vendor. On that note, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show, for sharing their knowledge and journey. I always pick up learnings from our guests, and hopefully you learned something new today. If you want to learn more about Dave Chrysler, head over to thechrysler.club. CHECRYSLER.CLUB. If you want to learn more about Andy Pradico, head over to essoft.com. It's ESSOFT.com. Links and more information will also be available in the show notes. Also, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word among folks with similar backgrounds. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please review and rate us on your favorite podcasting platform or DM me on any social channels. I'll try my best to respond personally and make sure you get help. Thank you, and I hope to catch you on the next episode of the WBS Podcast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.